here is the quick Q&A for the subject clinical microscopy. Please make sure to follow my YouTube account or my Facebook fan page for more educational and fun materials. Okay, question number 1. Functional units of the kidney. Letter A, pyramids. Letter B, nephrons. Letter C, interstitial cells. Or letter D, mesangial cells. Answer is letter B, nephrons. Kidneys are part of our urinary system, and their main function is to form the urine. And for them to do so, they will have the functional units in the form of the nephrons, and nephrons are basically composed of the following parts. It will have the glomerulus and the tubules. The tubules will then be subdivided into different parts. We call them the proximal convoluted tubule. Then we have the loops of Henle. The loops of Henle having a descending portion and an ascending portion. And then we have the distal convoluted tubule. Finally, we have the collecting ducts. So one more time, nephrons are the functional units of our kidneys, and they are composed of the glomerulus and the tubules, PCT, loops of Henle with the descending and ascending portion, DCT, and collecting ducts. Number 2, majority of the nephrons are letter A, juxtamedullary, letter B, medullary, letter C, cortical, or letter D, calycial. Answer here will be letter C, cortical. Our nephrons are divided into two. We have the cortical nephrons and the juxtamedullary nephrons. And they are different in the following manner. Number 1 is when we say cortical nephrons, they are seen in the cortex alone. Seen in the cortex alone. When we say juxtamedullary, we have the loops of Henle of these nephrons extending deep into the medulla. So it will have parts that are found in the cortex, but their loops of Henle are so long that they have extended deep into the medulla. Alright? Another difference between these two types of nephrons will be their function. The cortical nephrons will be functioning for tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion, while the juxtamedullary nephrons will be used more for our so-called urine concentration. Alright? So, again, the question is the majority of the nephrons are, answer will be cortical. And that means about 85% of our cortical nephrons are found in the cortex only. And the remaining percent will be considered as juxtamedullary nephrons. Number 3, this is the part of the nephron that serves as non-selective filter of substances. Letter A, collecting ducts. Letter B, proximal convoluted tubule. Letter C, glomerulus. And letter D, loops of Henle. We already mentioned the parts of the nephron, right? And again, that will refer to your number 1, you have your glomerulus, and number 2, you have your tubules. But the answer on number 3 will be the glomerulus. Letter C, glomerulus. The key word here is the non-selective filter word. That is basically the function of your glomerulus, to filter out substances. And we have a value to remember here. The molecular weight that we need to remember is less than 70,000. So that one more time, the substances in the blood will be able to pass through the glomerulus when their molecular weight is less than 70,000. Another term for the filter is the word sieve. So again, whenever you are asked about the non-selective sieve or filter of substances with molecular weight less than 70,000, then we answer glomerulus. Okay? Next, number 4. Countercurrent mechanism is a selective reabsorption process where letter A, water is reabsorbed in the ascending loop of Henle and salts in the descending loop of Henle. B, salts are reabsorbed in the ascending loop of Henle and water in the descending loop of Henle. C, both water and salts are reabsorbed in the ascending loop of Henle. Or D, both water and salts are reabsorbed in the descending loop of Henle. Answer here is letter B, salts in the ascending loop and water in the descending loop. For us to be able to understand that again or better, let us go to our screen here. And let me just show you one more time that our nephrons will be composed of our glomerulus and tubules. So let me draw my own nephron here. Alright? I will start with my glomerulus. This is basically my glomerulus. and the glomerulus will be inside the Bowman's capsule. So this is my Bowman's capsule. The Bowman's capsule will be connected to the first part of the tubule. That is your proximal convoluted tubule. And then the proximal convoluted tubule will be connected to the loops of Henle. Loops of Henle will have a descending portion and an ascending portion. And then after the loops of Henle, we have the distal convoluted tubule. And then after the distal convoluted tubule, we have the collecting ducts. Alright, so let me just label my tubules one more time. This is my PCT, followed by my descending loop of Henle. And then we have the ascending loop of Henle. We have here the distal convoluted tubule and the collecting ducts. Okay, so our question is about the countercurrent mechanism, and the countercurrent mechanism will happen here, all right, in our loops of Henle. Most especially if this nephron is a juxtamedullary nephron. Alright, as we have said a while ago, the function of juxtamedullary nephrons is for urine concentration. And for urine concentration, we use the countercurrent mechanism. And that refers to the movement of water in the descending loop of Henle. When ultrafiltrate comes in that portion, water will come out. Okay, when ultrafiltrate moves in the descending loop of Henle, the water molecules will be reabsorbed. They will be coming out from the descending loop of Henle. Okay, making the concentration of the ultrafiltrate higher because of the movement of water. Alright? And then, when the ultrafiltrate moves in the ascending loop of Henle, it will then be the turn of your salts in the form of sodium and chloride to come out of the tubules. So, in this portion of the tubule, the ascending loop of Henle, no water comes out because, again, let us just remind ourselves it is impermeable to water. That part of the nephron that is impermeable to water is the ascending loop of Henle. So no water comes out of the ascending loop of Henle, and it will be the salts which will be coming out. And as they come out, they are making the concentration of the ultrafiltrate lower. So in this portion, we are now concentrating the urine. Okay, and we do that now with the help of the so-called countercurrent mechanism. And one more time, that refers to the movement of your water in the descending loop of Henle and your salts in the ascending loop of Henle. Okay, that's the term selective reabsorption process. Alright, here is a mnemonic that you can use to remember what comes in and what comes in what part of the tubule. So you can think of the waterfalls. Okay, you say water and you think of waterfalls, you think of the word falls as descending, so that you know that in the descending loop of Henle, water is the one that is coming out. Alright, what about the salts? Salts in the form of sodium chloride. Alright, in Tagalog, this is known as asin. So several students will be using that as a way to remember that in the ascending loop of Henle, the salts are the ones that come out. Okay, ascending loop of Henle. I hope that can help you remember the countercurrent mechanism. So let's go back to our slide here. So again, our answer is letter B, salts in the ascending loop and water in the descending loop of Henle. Alright, we're down to our last question for this video. Number 5, majority of substances are reabsorbed in what part of the tubules? Letter A, proximal convoluted, letter B, distal convoluted, letter C, loops of Henle, or letter D, collecting ducts. The answer is letter A, proximal convoluted tubule. If you will look at the cells that make up this portion of the tubule, you will see cells with brush borders of microvilli, which increase their capacity to absorb things, so that the major site of tubular reabsorption will be our proximal convoluted tubule. But then, let us also add that it will also be the major site of tubular secretion. Okay, so the major site of tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion will be the PCT. Okay, tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion. What is the difference between the two? They are both movements of substances. But the movement of substances, when you say tubular reabsorption, is from the urine, and then we bring them back to the blood. When you say tubular secretion, substances are in the blood and we will need to move them to the urine for secretion or excretion. So that's basically what is the difference between the two terms here, tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion. So again, that will be our number 5, letter A, PCT. All right, we're done, and I hope everything is well understood, and I pray that you will also do good in your exams in the future. I'll see you in the next lecture. Goodbye, everyone, and remember that God loves you so much. Bye! Bye-bye!